VRising. If you're here for a video about vampires, then you're in the right place. If you're here for a video on the rise of virgins in 2024, then you probably should go to a hub somewhere maybe, or I don't know. VRising is an RPG game that puts you in the shoes of an ancient vampire. Your goal is to go around and suck on enemies' blood and kill them and be a vampire. But it is more than that. Not only can you craft weapons and armor, you can also build yourself a castle and essentially have servants that keep it running for you. There are some very interesting mechanics in VRising, like the ability to suck the blood of enemies in order to regenerate your blood pool, which can then be used to heal yourself, or for various other things, as well as daytime being a big problem for you because you're a vampire. When it hits daytime in the game, the sun comes out and you have to avoid staying in the sun, otherwise you get damaged. What this means is that if you're out in the sunlight in the daytime, then you have to basically stick to the tree lines and stay in shadows in order to survive. This actually adds a whole new aspect on battling in the game, because you have to essentially avoid sunlight while fighting against enemies, which cause you to actually have to move around. Obviously there is a story and there's a basic idea of what you're supposed to do in the game, but I'm not going to go into the details of that one. The game itself kind of plays a little bit like a Diablo style top-down fighting game, with elements of being able to build your own base, obviously craft equipment and other things, as well as, you know, other stuff to help you. You can travel around essentially hitting things in the environment in order to gather materials. You do have 3 types of weapons in this game, as well as spells that you can use, so you can cast spells from a distance in order to attack your enemies, and then you have the 3 weapons. You have a sword, which is your basic melee fighting style sword. You have 2 axes that can be used to cut down trees as well as fight a little bit faster. And then you have a mace, which is freaking huge, that allows you to hit and smash up rocks, as well as essentially take up bigger enemies with more bludgeoning damage. You can travel around the area in order to gather materials that you need to build up your castle. There are certain things in your castle like workbenches and other things that can allow you to build more stuff in your base, as well as obviously building the castle itself and the walls and the floor. But areas that you do want to build, there are a couple of very large areas that you can choose to build at. However, there are also big enemies in the area, as I went to one of them and discovered there was a giant golem, which was kind of fun because I was trying to go to the furthest part and then build out from there. I started from the entrance area instead because this huge golem would have destroyed me. And that leads me on to bosses. There are big bosses in the area. There are certain places that you'll come across much larger bosses than other ones, and certain ones that can be kind of difficult to fight against, especially when you're at a lower level. There is a flesh thing that I went against that threw out corpses that then got up and started fighting me. It was very difficult to fight and I actually ended up dying from it. But this basically puts you into this mindset that even though you're going through the area as a powerful vampire, there is the possibility of coming across enemies all over the place that can be much higher than your level. This means you have to be more careful when you're traveling around and just make sure that you don't get annihilated by things without even realizing they're there. You also have to be careful on what kind of animals you feed from, because it can change the blood type and how strong you can be. For example, if you start eating rats and then the blood type that you actually have becomes frail, which makes it a lot harder to fight enemies because you're a lot weaker. This means the better quality blood that you have from the better quality creatures, the stronger you essentially get. And your blood pool is very important, because if your blood pool runs out and you don't feed for a long period of time, then you do start to lose health. There is also a little bit more when it comes to the blood pool, and as you fill up blood there's certain things you gain from it, which I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because there's a lot of stuff there, but it's essentially the more blood that you get over time, you start to get benefits and bonuses. You also have the ability to customize and change the colors of your clothing as well, which is another thing that kind of adds a little bit of customization into the game. This can be good when you play it multiplayer to differentiate yourself from other people, so it's clearer to see where you are when you're in a fighting situation. And that of course brings me across to the fact this game is multiplayer with up to 4 people. Which means that you can play with your friends online and team up with people in order to not only build up your bases and stuff like that, but also fight against enemies and big bosses, which makes it a little bit more fun and more interesting if you have the friends to play it with. Though you do also have the ability to play with 3 other strangers online as well, so you can just go into the game and join up with people and find someone that's good at the game in order to join. And then you got a friend that you can play with in the future from that moment forward if they like playing with you. The map area of this game is actually quite large. There's a lot of stuff to do, there's a lot of places to go, and the game has been out for a couple of years, but it is now just came out of early access on the 8th of May this year. And that means they're fixing any bugs and problems that are in the game right now, and they're adding new content to it as well. So now is the perfect time to get onto the game. But whether this is your game or not, whether this is the sort of thing that you'd like to play, there's a couple of videos up on the screen right now. Go and give them a go, see what you think of those games. They might be your next favourite game, you never know. As always, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you for watching my video. I've been Lycan from Green Lycan Reviews, and I'll see you in the next one.